What's going on, everyone? My name is Liam DeBoer. I'm here with ET Transport, and today we're going to take a look at drug use within the trucking industry. Over the course of this video, we'll go over testing protocols, how many drivers fail these tests, and what substances are most commonly used. If you want to keep up to date with the world of trucking, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. A recent report from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration revealed that there has been a small jump in truck driver drug violations during 2021. These violations include driver refusals to submit a test, drug test failures, and having knowledge of a drug violation. In 2021, there were 58,215 drug violations, a 10.2% increase from the year prior. 82% of these were caused by positive drug tests. The most common drug found in violations was marijuana, by a long shot, which was followed distantly by cocaine. There was a lot of speculation that this would be the case, while more and more states such as Colorado and California, and entire nations such as Canada, have legalized marijuana for the general public. Despite the legalization, weed remains a Schedule I drug on a federal level in America. It is hard to wrap your head around how weed is completely legal in some states, but yet on a federal level, it's demonized more aggressively than cocaine, meth, and oxycodone. Under these federal laws, marijuana use is illegal for nearly everyone, but especially for truck drivers. The FMCSA also issued warnings that CBD oil can trigger a positive drug test, which is a major problem, seeing as CBD not only has no psychoactive effects, but also counteracts the effects of THC. So, side note, if grandma ever accidentally eats too many of the cookies that your cousin wearing a Grateful Dead t-shirt brought to the potluck, just give her some CBD to slowly land the rocket ship she just took off on. Drug use by commercial motor vehicle drivers is a major federal concern, and as a result, the FMCSA is now mandating that states pay closer attention to drug violations and take more swift action against those who violate their commercial driver's license. However, this report also illuminates a major concern that has been echoed throughout the trucking industry. Of the nearly 105,000 commercial drivers with at least one drug testing violation, only roughly 22% have completed their return to duty process, which is required to get back to driving. As of January 1st, 2022, 81,000 drivers have failed to complete their RTD, of which 61,000 haven't even started the process. I think it goes without saying to most of those watching this channel that truck drivers are in short supply, something the federal government looks to alleviate by accelerating efforts to train younger drivers. And some members of Congress have tried to make the process to obtain your CDL licensing easier. It seems as though readdressing these policies, especially regarding marijuana, is necessary for the industry going forward. It's honestly never made much sense to me that someone can drink a case of Budweiser watching the Detroit Lions inevitably lose on Sunday, then walk into work on Monday morning, not drunk, but at least compromisingly hungover, and still pass every drug test. Yet if someone smokes a joint on Saturday and are sober 4 hours later, they can be dinged at any point in roughly the next 30 days. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not condoning in any way, shape, or form being intoxicated behind the wheel. However, instead of addressing the pragmatism of some of these drug violation policies, the Trucking Alliance is looking to strengthen its ability to issue these violations. This again seems like missing the mark because depending on testing protocols, the findings of these tests can vary widely. For instance, a study from the University of Central Arkansas and the Trucking Alliance actually countered the findings from the FMCSA and found that cocaine was more widely used than marijuana. The Trucking Alliance is also pushing for hair testing, which would essentially double the number of drivers disqualified for drug use. However, the Department of Health and Human Services has yet to write guidelines for such an implementation of a policy. The director of the Trucking Alliance, Lane Kidd, said they, quote, "continue to beat the drum and get some general public awareness that we do have a drug abuse problem in the trucking industry. The big trucking associations don't want to talk about it because they think it harms the image of the industry. But we're not trying to harm the industry's image, it's just a big public safety risk." Doug Voss, the professor of logistics and supply chain management at the University of Central Arkansas, wrote in a news release, "Our research found that the Department of Transportation is seriously underreporting the actual use of harder drugs by truck drivers, such as cocaine and illegal opioids. Our analysis clearly concludes that hair testing identifies these harder drugs at higher percentages than the single urine testing method relied on by the federal government." The Trucking Alliance concluded that hair testing is more likely to find hard drug use like cocaine, opioids, and meth because these drugs are only observable in urine samples for a few days after use, whereas marijuana metabolites can linger for up to 30 days following use. Again, this brings me back to the same lack of logic in these policies. What exactly is the goal? To have no truck driver intoxicated behind the wheel? Yeah, that sounds like a good goal that we should actually try to attain. But to expect we can reach a scenario where no truck drivers ever use hard drugs on their personal time seems next to unachievable despite its noble aims. In a society that is trending more and more towards prevalent drug use, especially when it comes to opioids, we can't expect an entire industry to be clean while society at large is going in the opposite direction. The Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association has taken issue with this study, pointing out it's not peer-reviewed or scientifically sound. A spokesperson of the OOIDA recently said, quote, "The report provides no meaningful insight or connections to improving highway safety and does not support the group's proposal to mandate hair testing. The minimal and disappointingly limited research has no scientific analysis, methodology, demographics, hypothesis, or literature review. Highway safety policies should always be based upon sound research demonstrating a strong connection to a reduction in crashes." Kidd, the head of the Trucking Alliance, responded by saying hair testing can uncover a drug use for up to a 90-day period, and that testing methodologies have improved greatly over the last 30 years, and that these tests would pick up on, quote, lifestyle drug users and not occasional users, but that drivers who elicit drugs like cocaine and opioids on their own time and in ways that don't appear on urine tests also should get reported to the clearinghouse. When asked whether Kidd is concerned with the American Trucking Association's findings that the industry is short 80,000 drivers and that shortage is likely to double by 2030, Kidd responded by saying that the push to more strictly enforce rules such as disqualifying drivers is simply putting safety first. He also went on to add in regards to the link between drug testing and driver shortages that, quote, "There are segments of the industry that would just soon as look the other way and go ahead and require the drug user to operate the truck. I can't even see how the two are related. The industry needs to hire more drug-free people." Kidd has said that the issue with the current system is that someone who receives a positive hair test can seek employment elsewhere and that other employers don't have access to their testing data because it's not included in the clearinghouse, to which he states his goals with this new push, quote, "This is about trying to improve the system, improve the clearinghouse, so that the employers have a more accurate picture if the applicant is a lifestyle drug user." However, interestingly, in 2015, after the FAST Act passed, the National School Transportation Association raised concerns about the efficacy of hair testing and even pointed out that it's typically financial relationships and incentives which is driving the push for hair testing. For instance, Psychomedics, one of the country's leading hair testing labs, is a partner of the Trucking Alliance and supports the group financially, as do vendors and service providers in the trucking space, including Aon, Freightliner, and Bendix. So it would seem as though there is quite a tug of war going on in what to do about drug testing within the industry. Again, I think these seemingly endless amounts of associations and alliances need to readdress what the goal is behind anti-drug policies. If it is to have a completely drug-free industry, that seems highly unlikely. According to the CDC, in 1999, there were just shy of 10,000 opioid-related overdose deaths annually. By 2019, 20 years later, that number had multiplied fivefold to 50,000 deaths. By 2020, just a year later, that number was 78,000 deaths, and in 2021, 100,000 deaths per year. So while I agree that there is a massive issue that needs fixing, I don't think adopting a Nancy Reagan just say no-esque strategy toward removing drugs from the trucking industry is going to result in anything more than more problems. These issues require a more complex solution. Pretending that the growing drug use problem is confined to the trucking industry and therefore all that needs to be done is to hire drivers who don't use drugs seems like an incredibly myopic strategy. Well, that's all from me, folks. Let us know what you think in the comments. Does the growing drug use problem need to be dealt within or outside of the trucking industry? Are there any strategies or programs that have helped you or someone close to you deal with drug use? Let us know in the comments below. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with new content, and we'll catch you next time.